everyone, welcome to my channel, Knit with Fi. I'm Fi, and this is where I share my knitting hobby with you. So thank you so much for being here. If you're new, then a really big welcome. And if you're not new, then thank you so much for coming back. And I really hope that you continue to enjoy what I have to say. This is a regular episode, so I will be talking through anything I've finished recently, anything I've bought recently knitting related, and anything I'm working on. Once again, I forgot to say what I was wearing, so here you go. This is On the Beach by Isabel Kramer. I believe it's a free pattern off Ravelry. I knitted it with Drops baby merino. It's a sport weight anyway, with the color amethyst, and then I think this is like beige or off-white or something, I can't remember. But yeah, I don't wear it that much. It grew and has got an awful lot looser, especially around the neck, after blocking and washing. But yeah, I do like wearing it with like a tank top or something, but I don't normally wear it with a full t-shirt underneath, because as you can see, it's very, very loose. But I guess it's designed that way. It's meant to be to throw over a swimming costume and that kind of thing on the beach. So yeah, I said in the last one I was going to do my regular episodes more frequently, because I got an awful lot done between episodes last time. I'd say this is probably the opposite. So I have made progress on most things, but I've not got a lot to show you in terms of finished items. In fact, I've only got one. But without further ado, let's get started. So my finished item, which is only one, is a sock. I have finally finished my Casasol ribbed sock. Oh, it took a while. Well, it probably didn't take that long, but it felt an age. I got so sick of ribbing because I'd done multiple things in ribbing, and so the second sock specifically felt like it was taking forever. But I'm really, really chuffed that it's finished. I've tried them on. They fit me. I do really like them. If I were to do it again, I definitely wouldn't rib the socks for this particular yarn. As I mentioned in the previous one, the stripes look quite striking there. But because with ribs there's both pearls and knits, and because it's quite fitted, then the pearls are really obvious. So underneath the foot there, those are really lovely and crisp. But on the leg itself, it gets a bit messy with all those stripes. So if I were to do it again, I would definitely do a vanilla sock with this particular yarn. Thankfully, I have another ball of this yarn, so at some point I will make a vanilla sock with it. However, I need a change and a break, so I don't think it will be anytime soon. What do I need to say about these socks? So they were on 2.25mm needles. They were 64 stitches in total. The yarn is really tough, as I said in my previous video. So they're really structured. And that is great, and I think it means they're going to be sturdy and last a long time. But it does mean that I think if I were to do it again, I'd go up a needle size. But we'll see, because socks do tend to grow in the wash, so it could be that, they'll get a tiny bit looser. And it's not that they're too tight or anything like that. They just feel really, I don't know, they just feel quite kind of ungiving compared to a lot of merino wool that I've worked with before. Is much sort of softer and looser. So yeah, it's interesting. It's very different from what I've knitted with before, and I reckon it's gonna make a really sturdy sock, which is good. I don't know much about Casasol because it was a gifted yarn. I don't know a lot about the brand, but I would definitely use it again. And I would definitely use this colour again as well. But like I say, with a vanilla sock. The pattern I got from Summer Lee's The Sock Project book, and I adapted it. Well, not really adapted it, but just ignored the colour work a bit and just did a rimmed sock. So that's where I got the pattern from. But then I've played around a little bit with things like making the heel slightly longer and that sort of thing to get it how I would like it. But that's kind of the base pattern that I used for it. I'm looking forward to wearing them. And that is my only finished item. The good thing about finishing a pair of socks means I get to start another pair. So the next pair of socks I will start is probably going to be some lace socks. I have 3 plans for socks in the near future. 1 for a pair for my mum, 1 for a pair for my dad, and 1 for a lace pair of socks because I would really love to learn how to do lace work. And because I don't have the yarn yet for either my mum's sock or my dad's socks, I'll probably do the lace ones first. So that is probably what I'm going to do next. I do have the wool for that, and I do have some lace patterns from the Summer Lee book. So that's probably what I'll work on next. Right, so acquisitions. I will put a running total down there so you can see where I'm at. It is still March, just. So I'm still on my March budget, which means I have £46 and 4p left on my March budget. And just yesterday, I spent most of that. Yeah, it was an interesting one. So it will be interesting to see how it turns out, whether I'm happy with what I spent. It's not something I was planning on spending money on this month. So to tell you the story, there is one pattern that I really liked on Ravelry. It's been saved in my favorites for a while. It's called the Frankie Sweater. It's a San Nesgarn pattern, but you can't buy it on Ravelry. So it comes from a 2022 knitting pattern book that San Nesgarn released. You may have heard this before. There's definitely some YouTubers that I have watched that also like this pattern, also wanted this book, and also had issues getting it. From what I've heard, it's going out of print. So it's getting harder and harder to find this book. They've also made it so in order to buy the book, you also have to buy some yarn to go with it to knit one of the patterns. So a few weeks ago, I just thought I'd look around, see how difficult it was to find the book. And it seemed to be around in several different places, so I didn't worry too much about it. I didn't have any plan to knit this Frankie sweater anytime soon anyway. So I thought, you know, I'm not gonna get it. However, after hearing that people were finding it harder and harder to find the book at all, I started to get a bit nervous because I would really like to make that sweater. So I had a look at the other patterns in the book, and I would say that 75% of the patterns I would be interested in making at some point. Yeah, there's several ones in there. There's like a Guernsey style sweater in there that looks really nice. There's another jumper with some really nice raglan details, which looks really lovely. There is quite a few different things in there that looked interesting. So I thought, well, if I get this book, you know, I am going to use it. I am going to make a lot of stuff from it. and I'd rather get it while it's still available than find out, come to the time I want to make the Frankie sweater, go to make it and I can't find it anywhere. So I went back, and the place that I saw it at was sold out. So that worried me a bit. And then I noticed it had come back in stock a couple of weeks later. So I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it. It was from Etsy. And I believe it's not a UK shop, which, I don't know the reasons for it. Basically, the prices didn't match what the book is normally sold for. I don't think it was a bit more expensive. And also the shop that you bought it from, you also had to buy yarn from, and that was noticeably more expensive than you could get it in the UK. So for example, I could get Sadness Garn Sunday for £6.50. In the UK, they were selling it for £9.50, so significantly more. So I ummed and ahed about whether to get this or not. But I decided that I would get it because I thought, even with buying the yarn, and I bought yarn for the smallest pattern in there, which was 2 balls of yarn. So I bought 2 balls of yarn and the pattern book. And I thought, even with all of that, it's not like I'm not going to use the yarn. And if I were to individually assign per pattern, say, £5. If I were to buy a single pattern, it's normally about £5. It still came out to an okay price per pattern that I would be interested in making. So yeah, I ended up buying it. So we'll see. I don't really like buying things out of fear. And I don't like it when I don't know. I want to buy something because I really want it, not because I'm afraid that when I want it, I'm not going to be able to get it. So yeah, I was really unsure about whether to buy it or not, whether to pay for it. But I did it. So that was, let me double check. It was £31.94, I think, but I will just double check. 84. So that was £31.84. So with that, I bought the pattern book. I also bought 2 balls of sock yarn, and I also paid for postage and tax, and all that together came out to £31.84. So I've bought a pattern book and 2 balls of yarn for £31.84, which it feels quite steep because I think it's supposed to be about £8, the pattern book, and I paid nearly £32, which is a bit painful. But I'm gonna be really chuffed that I've got the book, and there's a lot of patterns in there I'd like to give a go to. So yeah, I think it will be okay. But that's decimated the rest of my budget for this month. So I'm not going to get anything else until April, which, thank goodness, is just in a couple of days, and it will refresh back to £100 again in April. So we will see what I do with that. I did mention in another podcast, I think, that I've got some ideas, and there's a yarn shop that I would like to go to and buy a bunch of yarn from. However, pretty much every yarn that I want to get from there is sold out at the moment. So we will see how that goes. But I do think that I've got quite a lot on the go at the moment. And so it's unlikely that at the beginning of April I will have much to spend my money on. If I do, possibly it'll be some needles, which is a bit frustrating because I have quite a few needles, so I didn't really want to spend too much more on needles, especially not this close to when I bought my original needles. But yeah, one of my needle cables is just given out, which is annoying because I want it, you know, a few months is not a long time to last before the cable breaks. So we'll see. But if that keeps happening, then I think I'm gonna have to go with a different cable. I use Knit Pro Zing needles, and they're swivel cables. And yeah, I was expecting it to last longer. That particular cable, I'm not sure if I got it when I got my set, which was a Christmas present, or whether I got it before that. I think it was before that because I think it's one of the really long ones. But still, it's only been 6 months. So I would have hoped it would have lasted longer than that. So yeah, that's it. My acquisitions. I bought one thing, and it was painful, but I'm glad I did it, I think. I'm still a little bit nervous that I'm going to get contacted by the seller and say, you can't just buy 2 balls of yarn, you have to buy a sweater's quantity. But I bought the quantity requested in the pattern. It's just that the pattern is a pair of socks, so it's not very much. So I'm hoping it'll be fine. So let's move on to works in progress, because I've only finished one item and I've not started anything new yet. So I've got 4 items on the go and it's the same ones as last time. So let's see where I've got up to. I am going to start off, what am I going to start off with? I'm going to start off with socks. So I've only got 1 pair of socks because I finished the other one. They are my Katia socks. I have made 1 and I have finished the heel on the other one and I'm just working through the leg. So I reckon it won't be too much longer. I tend not to work on socks that much. I usually take them with me to my knitting groups and work on them then, because they're kind of mindless and I can chat with people while I knit them. So it's just a couple of times a week that I work on them. So I reckon it'll probably be another week or 2 before this is done. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's going. It's 2.5mm needles, 60 stitches, fits well. I possibly could even go down, but if it's okay. I did the German twisted cast on and I did it looser than I normally do, because my cast-ons and cast-offs seem to be pretty tight, and yeah, I wanted it to be, I can get my socks over my foot, but you can definitely feel the tension there, whereas I wanted it to feel like a regular sock, with a little bit more give. So it has made it a little bit more, little bit less structured at the top, but it's not too bad. I think it looks okay. Same on this side. So I'm pleased with that it's less tight when I'm getting it over my foot. And I really love the colours. Yeah, I think it's a really great pattern. And my mum loves them, so I'm going to use the exact same yarn to make her some socks, but with a longer leg. Yeah. Katia socks. Again, by now it's just a pattern that I have in my head. Originally, pretty much all my sock patterns, other than the toe up one, came from the Summerlee Sock Project book. But now I just knit it from my head, and decide as I go how I want to do things. I believe this is a 2x1 cuff I did, yeah. So I did 15 rows, 2x1 cuff, 35 rows of the ankle, and then picked up 16 for the heel flap. So that is that. A little bit of progress, but not loads on those socks because I was focusing on the other socks. The next thing I will go according to size. So the next one is my pie camisole. That is here. So the body's got slightly longer. I just knitted it until I finished the ball of wool. So I reckon that's between 2 and 3 centimeters of body once, the back and the front were joined that I've done. Then I went on to doing the edging. So this is kind of the bit that goes under your arm. So that's the edging there. I'm a little bit nervous that it's quite short, but I get nervous. I say I nervous a lot and it usually turns out okay. So I'm hoping it's going to be okay. But yeah, I really like the look of it with the ribbing. I think it's really nice. So my next step is to do the strap that goes along the top. And yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about doing that because it's a bit fiddly. So I could do it in a simpler way, but I do really like how and I can't remember because I've not looked at the pattern in a while, whether the pattern says exactly which stitch to use when casting on, but I would like to use the Italian cast on, but it's a bit fiddly using the Italian cast on along with picking up stitches in 2 places. So yeah, I think once it's done it'll be really straightforward, but it just feels a bit so I'm a little bit, I've kind of been putting that off because I want to be in a state of mind where I can really focus. So yeah, that's that. It's on 2.75mm needles. I'm doing it. It's with fingering weight yarn. This is Yarwool silk yarn. So it's a mixture of wool, polyamide and silk. I'm really loving the fabric that's coming out and I'm really loving the colour. It's got a really nice sheen to it. And yeah, I just think it's gorgeous, this colour. So I am really excited about it, but I need to get on with doing the strap across the top. It does seem to, the fabric does seem to have pulled a little bit with the picking up stitches. So I'm hoping that blocking will get rid of that, but yeah, if it doesn't, then were I to do this again, I would pick up stitches more frequently. It does seem quite conservative about how often to pick up stitches. It's just scary, isn't it, when you're halfway through and you're like, oh, do I follow the pattern, trust it, and it'll all come out in the wash, or do I do what I think and change it partway through and find out later on that actually you didn't need to, or it's made it worse by changing it? Yeah, I don't know. So that is my pie camisole. Then where am I gonna go next? Let's do the Ingrid sweater. So the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit is the jumper I'm working on for me at the moment. It's really exciting. I really wanted to do a textured pattern jumper, so I'm very chuffed that I'm doing it and it's going okay at the moment. So yeah, I've done the body. I've got this sleeve here. It feels a bit short, so it's meant to be almost at my wrist and it's really not. And so what I'm gonna do is on this side I'm gonna knit down to the same amount and then I'm gonna block it and see how it comes out, see what the finished length is going to be, and if it is too short then I will knit longer. But yeah, if I do, I don't know, I'm torn. I have to get to have it finished, see it in its finished state, and then decide what I do. But were I to make it again and it does end up being way too small, I'd be tempted to just make this moss stitch a little bit longer here. Yeah. So my next step is to pick up the other sleeve. So this sleeve is pretty much done other than the cuff. So I'm gonna do the other sleeve, then block it, and then carry on with the body. But yeah, it's going well. Enjoying it. 4mm needles I'm using. Drops Lima in the colour Wheat mixed with light beige for Drops Kid Silk. And yeah, I do really like the colour. The other thing, I tried it on yesterday and the sleeve felt decidedly itchy, which I thought this might happen. So it feels really soft to the touch. Like I just, it doesn't feel scratchy or rough at all. But yeah, I'm feeling that the sleeve's I'm gonna end up finding it really itchy with the mohair. So yeah, definitely wear a long sleeve shirt underneath this one, I think, and a small neckline instead of mock neckline, and we shall see. Do I have anything else to say? I feel like I'm going through these really quickly today, but I think that's because I've not got that much extra to say compared to what I've been, what I said last time. It's yeah, and I'm just right in the middle of them, so there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, it could be an issue, it might not be, I don't know, I'm gonna have to keep knitting to find out. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. I was a little bit worried. A lot of the projects, I feel like this ribbing section here looks inordinately long compared to other sections, especially this one here, which is really short. But so far, I think it looks okay. So that was one worry that it seems to be fine so far. Yeah, but no, it's really fun. It's really Moorish. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and when I was doing the body here, I was like, oh, I don't really know if it is. I think particularly this because I was so sick of 2x2 ribbing, and you got a long chunk along the body. But with the sleeves, because it's a lot less, then it definitely, it feels much more manageable, and each section doesn't seem to take too long, and you want to move on to the next one, and it's interesting and all of that. So yeah, definitely with the sleeves, I've been really, really enjoying it. I really like the idea of doing things in sections. That does really keep the interest. So that's really great. I can show you the yarn just so you can see it up close. That's the Lima. That's the Kid Silk. That's them together. And yeah, I really like the colour as well. And it's great for showing up the stitch definition. Which is lovely. Yeah, and even the silk mohair, I can see why people use it now, because it doesn't seem to get rid of the stitch definition at all. Like, it's still really clearly visible, but I think it just smooths out any rough edges, which is nice. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to see and compare wearing it and if it's itchy compared with, the halo and the smoothing out that it gives, and whether it's worth it or not. Particularly interesting because my Biche et Bouche silk mohair that I've got in my balloon sweater I made recently isn't itchy at all. So I can completely wear that without even noticing any itch at all, which is weird because it doesn't feel much less soft than this one. But yeah, there's just a little bit of a scratchiness to it. Right, so my final work in progress at the moment is my terracotta sweater. And this one I definitely can show you progress, which is really exciting. The last episode I'd literally just cast on, I think I'd done about 5 rows of the neck. So yeah, this body is now done, joined here, and I am knitting down. I didn't do what I normally do, which is once I've finished a ball of wool, I'd pick up the sleeves. I really was not wanting to pick up stitches. I really wanted something that was just carry on knitting without having to think, and so I decided to just carry on. So yeah, I am doing the body at the moment, and yeah, I think it's lovely. I really, really like it. Really like the colours as well. In the last episode I said I was really nervous that the contrast wouldn't be obvious enough. It 100% is, like, really, really crisp. So that's really great. Really enjoying this one. Again, I think it's the certain number of rows and then you're changing all the time, so it really keeps your interest. Lovely patterns on it. I really like the patterns. So even though I do find colour work a little bit boring. It's not been too bad because, yeah, it's just so lovely. It just looks really lovely. So it is really encouraging to carry on. Yeah, again, a little bit nervous. It might be a bit small for him, but we shall see once I start the sleeves. This is rolling quite a lot, so it is actually a bit bigger. But from the pattern, it's meant to kind of go all the way over your shoulder and hang down. So yeah, we'll see. But I think it's okay. Yeah, really exciting. Oh, it's great. It's 4.5mm needles I'm using, so I went up half a millimeter from the recommended. So with this one, the pattern overall is quite easy to follow, but not super easy, I would say. It's difficult because I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about a paid pattern, and also they blur. So I know I've had a couple of issues with this pattern and a couple of issues with this pattern, and I can't remember exactly which was which. And when I say issues, it's not necessarily that the pattern is bad. I think a lot of it is my comprehension. Like, I find it difficult sometimes reading text to understand what they're trying to say until I've given it a go. And so I think both these patterns, actually, because you did something similar at the front and the back, I did the back bit, and by the time I'd done the front bit, I understood fully what they were saying, but I made a few little errors on either the back or the beginning of the front, that kind of thing, because I hadn't fully understood what they were talking about. So yeah, there are a few little pieces. For both of them, it's none of the things that I misunderstood and so did differently from the pattern were anything that's going to be noticeable at all on the jumper or the top. This is why I'm saying, the pattern's pretty easy to follow, and all the bits that are a little bit unclear to me, or were a bit unclear to me on first reading, were bits that it didn't matter if you did slightly differently from what the pattern was actually meaning. But I did want to bring up the fact that, there were on both these patterns things like that. So I'll give you an example, and I don't remember which pattern this is from, so I think it's okay to say, is sometimes on patterns, they will use the word knit to mean just knit, which I find unclear, because, if you're saying knit 2, purl 2, that clearly means knit, like do a knit stitch. Whereas if you say knit 10 rows of stockinette, then that's not knit, especially if it's, knitting flat. You're not knitting 10 rows of stockinette, you're knitting 1 row, purling 1 row, knitting. So I much prefer when they say like work 10 rows of stockinette, because it distinguishes between that knit and what it means by knit. And I definitely found that in patterns in the past where it'll be like knit the final stitch. And you think, does it mean knit, like do a knit stitch every time on the final stitch? Or does it mean, that kind of thing? Or knit 4 rows of stockinette? That's a little bit clearer. But then in the same pattern, it'll be like knit 4 rows of stockinette, and then it'll be like knit the first row. You're like, does it mean knit properly, like in knits? Or, or does it mean just knit the first row as it presents? Like you would say work the first row as it presents. But yeah, I just wanted to call out that I did find a couple of things confusing in the pattern, and I found this quite a lot with patterns, and I think this is where I like the idea of, you make the pattern more than once, because you kind of go through, you make all your mistakes, and then you like fully understand what they're talking about. So yes, I think that's a very long-winded way of saying that both these patterns I did find bits where I wasn't clear, and I think I probably did it wrong. And now I understand, and were I to do it again, it would be fine. And even though I did them wrong, it's nothing that's noticeable. If it was noticeable, I would have undone it, but it's just not noticeable at all, so it's fine. But there was a little bit of confusion with these. This one I don't remember any confusion at all, to be honest. The only possible confusion is the decreases for the sleeve aren't shown up in the chart, so you've just got to decrease it, and the chart is kind of assuming that it's the same number of stitches all the way along, but it's not, because you're decreasing as the sleeve gets longer. But that wasn't really an issue for me. You're not decreasing super frequently or anything like that. It doesn't mess up the pattern very much, and it's right on the underside of your arm anyway. Overall, really, really happy with this pattern. No confusion so far with this pattern. So that's good. That is everything. That's all of my works in progress. So I think I've already talked about what I'd like to do next. I'm going to do a lace sock. That one I will probably cast on in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, whether I will finish anything and start anything new, I do not know. But I do have a few things where I've already got the yarn for I can start. I've got a t-shirt that I can make. In the background, I've got yarn from a while back that I bought to make things that don't have patterns off the top of my head. And I do feel like I'm at the point now where I could probably work it out. So again, that's something, if I have a craving for doing something completely off the top of my head, then that's there in the background. But yeah, I don't think I'll be starting many new things before the next podcast, to be honest. But what I would really like is by the next podcast to have a non-sock finished item for you. That would be really great. Yeah, so that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find it interesting. If I've forgotten anything, or if you want more information about any of my works in progress, do send me a message. I think my email address is in the description, and you can also just comment on the videos, that sort of thing. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have a really good day, and all the best until I see you again. Bye.